Some goodbyes are loud. They come with words, with reasons, with a moment you can point to and say, that's when it ended. But some goodbyes never arrive. One day, they're simply gone. No argument, no explanation, no last conversation to hold on to, just silence. And the hardest part isn't that they left, it's that you never knew when the last moment was. You keep replaying ordinary memories, a normal call, a casual message, a goodbye that didn't sound like one. And somewhere inside you, a question begins to ache. Did I miss my chance to say something? Was there more I should have said or done? Being left without a goodbye doesn't just hurt. It confuses the heart. There is no ending to grieve, no closure to accept, only a relationship that fades without giving you permission to let go. If this has happened to you, you may still feel tied to someone who isn't there anymore. Not because you can't move on, but because your heart was never told that it was over. Stay with me, because this kind of leaving creates a grief few people talk about, and even fewer understand. And if you're carrying it quietly, you don't have to do that here. The kind of grief that has no ending. When someone leaves without saying goodbye, your heart doesn't know where to place the loss. There was no final conversation, no moment of truth, no clear line between before and after. So your grief stays unfinished. It lingers in ordinary moments. When you pass a place you once shared, when something reminds you of a version of life that quietly disappeared. This is not the kind of grief people usually recognize. There was no funeral, no ritual, no permission to mourn openly. And because of that, many people tell themselves they shouldn't feel this way. Maybe it wasn't serious enough to hurt this much. Maybe I'm holding on too long. But grief doesn't measure itself by how something ended. It measures itself by how real it once felt. When someone leaves without a goodbye, your mind keeps searching for the ending it never received. It replays memories, not because you're stuck in the past, but because your heart is trying to understand where the story stopped making sense. This kind of grief isn't loud, it's quiet, persistent, often carried alone. And later in life, when losses have already accumulated, this quiet grief can feel heavier because it adds to everything you've already learned to carry. If this resonates with you, please know this. You are not grieving too much. You are grieving without an ending, and that deserves gentleness, not judgment. Your grief stays unfinished. Why silence hurts more than truth. Truth, even when it hurts, gives the heart something to hold. Silence does not. When someone leaves without saying goodbye, your mind is left to fill in the blanks. And the mind, when it has no information, often turns pain inward. You begin to wonder if there was something you failed to see, something you should have known, something you should have done differently. Not because you were careless, but because your heart is searching for meaning. Silence denies you that. It leaves you suspended between what felt real and what is suddenly gone. And for people who value honesty and connection, this suspension can be deeply unsettling. Later in life, this kind of silence can reopen old wounds. Times you weren't told the truth, times you were left to figure things out alone. Times you had to accept endings without being given a voice. So when silence arrives again, it doesn't feel like just one loss. It feels like a pattern repeating. And that's why it hurts more than truth. Not because the truth would have been easier, but because it would have respected your heart enough to let it understand. Silence takes that respect away. If you're carrying this pain, please hear this clearly. Wanting truth is not weakness. Wanting an ending is not asking for too much. It means you care about meaning, and meaning matters, especially now. Silence denies the heart something to hold, the question that keeps you tied to the past. When someone leaves without saying goodbye, there is a question that quietly keeps you connected to them. It's not always a conscious question. It doesn't come as a sentence. It comes as a feeling, a pause, a hesitation, a sense that something is still unfinished. You may tell yourself you've accepted their absence, that you understand they're gone, and yet part of you keeps waiting, not for them to return, but for something that never arrived, an explanation, a final acknowledgement, a moment that says, what we had was real. Without that moment, your heart stays alert, not because you're stuck, but because it doesn't know it's allowed to rest. For many people later in life, this is especially painful. You've already learned that time moves forward, that people leave, that nothing is guaranteed. But you also know how rare genuine connection is now. So when one ends without recognition, your heart struggles to release it. Not because you can't let go, but because letting go feels like erasing something that mattered. And that's the question that lingers beneath everything. If it meant something to me, did it mean anything to them? This question keeps the past alive, not as longing, but as unfinished meaning. And until your heart is allowed to honor what was real, it will continue to hold on quietly. Your heart doesn't know it's allowed to rest. Why you keep replaying ordinary moments. After someone leaves without saying goodbye, you may notice something confusing. Your mind doesn't return to dramatic memories. It returns to ordinary ones. A routine phone call, a simple message, a moment that felt unimportant at the time. You replay them not because you're trying to go back, but because your heart is searching for a signal that the ending had meaning. When there is no goodbye, the mind scans the past for clues. It asks, was there a sign I missed? Was there a moment that should have warned me? This isn't obsession. It's the brain's attempt to create an ending where none was given. And for people who value connection, this replaying can last longer. Because you don't move through relationships casually. You notice details. You remember tone. You remember presence. So when someone disappears quietly, your heart keeps returning to the last place it felt seen. Later in life, this can feel especially heavy. You're not just replaying one connection. You're revisiting a time when closeness felt possible, when someone still felt near. That doesn't mean you're stuck in the past. It means your heart hasn't been told that it's allowed to close this chapter. Replaying ordinary moments is not a failure to let go. It's a sign that what you shared was real enough to deserve an ending. And real connections don't disappear quietly inside us. They ask to be acknowledged before they can rest. What you lost wasn't just them. It was the ending you never got. When someone leaves without saying goodbye, what you lose isn't only the person. You lose the ending. And endings matter more than we realize. They tell the heart where to place the story. They say, this chapter is complete. They allow the nervous system to soften, to stop scanning for what might still happen. Without an ending, your heart stays partially open. Not hopeful, just unfinished. This is why the absence lingers longer than you expect. Why the feeling returns in quiet moments. Why you may feel emotionally tired without knowing why. You are carrying something that was never closed. And for many people later in life, this loss is layered. You've already lived through goodbyes that came too fast, through changes you didn't choose, through endings you had to accept without discussion. So when someone leaves quietly now, It doesn't just reopen one wound. It touches every moment you learn to let go without being seen. This doesn't mean you are fragile. It means your heart remembers. It remembers how much peace came from being acknowledged, from being spoken to honestly, from being given a place to set something down. What you lost was not only them. You lost the moment that would have said, "This mattered." And until your heart hears that message from somewhere, it will continue to hold the space open, not because you are stuck, but because unfinished things ask to be honored before they can be released. What you lost was the ending, how to let go without erasing what was real. Letting go after someone leaves quietly doesn't mean pretending it didn't matter. That's a mistake many people make. They try to release the pain by minimizing the connection. They tell themselves it wasn't important, that it shouldn't have hurt this much, that they're being too sensitive. But erasing meaning doesn't bring peace. It brings numbness. Real healing asks for something different. It asks you to let go without rewriting the truth. To say, "This mattered to me. Something real existed here. And it ended without the care it deserved." Letting go, then, is not forgetting. It is allowing the story to have weight, even without an ending given by the other person. For many people later in life, this is the hardest part, because you've already learned how easy it is for meaningful things to disappear without ceremony. So your heart holds on, not out of weakness, but out of respect for what was shared. Healing begins when you stop asking yourself to dismiss your own experience. When you allow yourself to honor the connection without chasing closure from someone who couldn't offer it. You don't need their words to validate what you felt. You only need to stop arguing with your own memory. Letting go doesn't mean the connection meant nothing. It means it meant enough to deserve gentleness as you place it down. Erasing meaning doesn't bring peace. It brings numbness. Some goodbyes happen inside you. Before this conversation ends, there's something important your heart needs to hear. If someone left your life without saying goodbye, that does not mean the connection was incomplete. It means the ending never arrived from the outside. And some endings have to be created within you. Not as an excuse, not as forgiveness you're not ready to give, but as a quiet acknowledgement, this was real. It mattered, and I am allowed to grieve it. You don't need to imagine what they would have said. You don't need to wait for words that may never come. Your heart already knows what was shared, and it is allowed to place that truth somewhere safe without erasing it. Letting go doesn't mean closing yourself off. It means trusting that you don't need every ending to be spoken aloud in order to move forward gently. Some goodbyes are conversations, others are realizations. And this realization is enough. You were present, you were honest, you were emotionally available, and even though the goodbye never came, what you gave was real. If you're sitting with this pain tonight, know that you're not alone here. Healing Heart Talks exists for the losses that don't have ceremonies, for the endings that happen quietly, and for the hearts that deserve to be treated with care, especially at this stage of life. Take a breath. You're allowed to let this rest now.